To the cloud. All righty. Thank you so much for joining us with this project. And again, like I said, we're doing this project about ending slavery in Georgia. And I'm doing this project part of Restore Represent Justice, as well as All of Us or None. And so I just wanted to first get you to say your name, spell your first name and your last name, how it'll be seen, how you want it to be seen across the thing. So like your name, your title, or, if you want to say community leader or formerly incarcerated or your city or something like that, however you want to do it. But just say your first name. And if you want it to be Jennifer, Drew, and that Umberger, then that's fine as well.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. First name is Jessica, Jessica. Middle name Drew. That's what I go by. Drew. Last name is Umberger, Umberger. Directly impacted, formerly incarcerated, community leader. I'm all of those things.
All right.
All of those things.
You want us to just put Atlanta, Georgia?
That'll work.
That's fine. Okay. Well, we're going to start. I'm just going to ask you a few questions and just answer them as clear as you can, or to your best of ability. There's no wrong answers or anything. So I wanted to just start out asking you if you are aware that slavery is still legal through the United States through the exception in the 13th Amendment.
I'm going to be honest with you. I did not know that till recently. Yeah.
So when did you thought slavery ended?
I would have thought it would have ended when, what was it, the Confederate War? Lincoln, yeah. Right. I would have thought that would have been the end of it. It should have been the end of it.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't pay attention to the except for the punishment of a crime in there.
Right.
Okay. How has it? Yeah, and that's considered the loophole that basically white slave owners used to start this whole trend of mass incarceration. So how do you think that loophole, that exception, impacted you yourself as a formerly incarcerated person?
Well, for starters, I was coerced to working 5 to 7 days a week in extreme elements. And if I refused or didn't do it, I was punished. And their punishment would be lockdown, which is traumatizing in itself. So it was a no-win situation. It was like I was forced. It's like I was selected by classification, and it is what it is. I was denied educational opportunities because I was eligible to work outside the gates. Therefore, their criteria for eligible. So I had to do it.
So what type of work assignments were you given?
Oh, Lord. The one that sticks out the most is the trash detail. They removed the dumpsters from inside of the prisons. And when they did that, they decided, we'll just have a compactor on the outside of the prison, outside the gate. So one of my jobs was to go around to every dorm at Lee Arrendale and gather trash, throw it on the back of a trailer, and then walk the trailer once outside of the prison. Once I've been strip searched, going outside to take trash out, doing what they want me to do, then I would walk probably a half a mile behind the trailer, empty the trash into a big compactor. The trash was just like, and the kitchen trash was probably the worst. I was always covered in slop and women's feminine products and what have you. And then I would be strip searched, usually soaking wet from the juices from the leftover food, and get strip searched again coming back into the prison.
So when you were dealing with these hazardous materials, blood and all this other stuff, you weren't given any type of protective gear, any type of benefits? Were you even paid doing this work?
Absolutely not paid. Never. I was given latex gloves, I will be honest, but those gloves probably went to my wrist. They didn't cover my body. And then it was up to me to wash my clothes by hand in order to have something to wear the next day.
That is
You're
awesome.
only issued a certain amount of clothes, and for somebody on outside detail, I mean, you ruin those clothes in a day. I mean, you have to I would literally come back in, jump straight in the shower, scrub my clothes by hand, hang them over the rail to dry because the laundry facility was either under construction or wasn't laundry day or for whatever have you.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I hate that.
That was just one of the jobs.
But none of the jobs that you worked, you were paid.
Absolutely not.
And often forced to do it or punished.
Yes.
Okay. That's slavery. That's slavery.
That is slavery.
Absolutely. And a lot of people don't understand that when you're forced to do something and you retaliate against it for doing, and you're doing it for no pay, that is slavery. What are your thoughts when people say, I know this wasn't something I told you I was going to ask you about, but what are your thoughts when people say, well, that's just part of your punishment. That's what you get when you go to prison. So I'm all for incarcerated people working. That's what they get.
First of all, when the judge sentenced me, he didn't say nothing about working or
being a slave
or outside detail. That was not in my sentencing paperwork. Nowhere in that sentence does it say you will do this and this and this and this. None of that was said. None of that was stated to me by a judge.
Exactly. You were sentenced to prison, and prison itself is the punishment.
Absolutely. In my mind was what it does to your mind, that's punishment enough.
Yeah. Okay. As a white person who has been subjected to slavery, what do you say to others who deny that prison labor isn't actually slavery and who minimize it for what it really is by saying prison slave labor is good for the community? It teaches incarcerated people skills, or for those who don't have a problem with it, because if a person does the crime, they should do the time.
Okay, well, honestly, I would say that that's just pure, blissful ignorance. Yes. Because for one, the city would not even hire me to take trash out. I couldn't even get a job for the city to take trash. So I don't know how that would have been, me doing that 7 days a week was beneficial to me or the community. I feel sorry for people who feel that way and think that way.
Yeah. And when they, and it gets me when a lot of folks will say, well, they're learning a skill, they're learning a trade. It's when you go to college, you're learning education, you're learning a skill, you're learning trades so that you can apply it to the real world when you get out. That's when you are using something. But when you're in prison and you're working to supposedly learn a trade, you're not learning a trade for something that can be applicable outside, because when you get out, those same positions you're not eligible for because you have a felony. So that basically negates their argument for that.
That's I don't understand that. I feel like that nobody works under 30-degree weather. I mean, you know what I mean? So if they wouldn't do it, why would you expect us to do it? Why you know what I mean? Like an officer would ride and follow us in a van in the warm and have way more clothing than we had issued anyway. The extreme weather is probably what was the hardest for me.
Yeah. Okay. Can you give me your thoughts or emotions when you see incarcerated people working in these jobs? And how does it make you feel to know that these same jobs are denied to them once they're released, and to others on the outside who are seeking those jobs?
Well, my first thought when I see somebody working on a road crew is, do they have water? Do they have access to water? Because that was a big deal that we went through a lot, was either we didn't have enough water or we couldn't get the water before we left, or, that's my first thought. And my heart goes out to the people because I know what they're doing. And to not even, to get a sack lunch for a whole 8 hours worth of pay. You know how much money that's saving the system by having people incarcerated do that? I mean, you would, for the things that we were doing, we probably should have been getting paid $25, $30 an hour.
Oh, I can imagine. And I can imagine why a lot of folks on the outside in the community who go and apply for those jobs are told we're not hiring for those positions. Because they'd rather have slaves do it than to pay someone the $25 or $30 to do it. So you're saying that you could actually be out there 8 hours, 10 hours a day without water, and then when you do get lunch, it's probably a sack lunch. There's usually a fruit and an apple.
And then just hoping in the summertime and that bologna's been cooking in that van for 8 hours and it's already turned brown or green. You know?
That's awful.
Yeah, it is awful. It was awful.
Ugh.
And I'm you couldn't tell me that I have a lot of digestive problems now. And I never had any type of problems with my digestive tract until I went to prison. So I'm convinced 100%, 1000% that the lack of nutrition is what has made me sick today.
I can imagine. I can imagine, because the food is too small of portions. It's not nutritious at all. Folks aren't giving vitamins. They aren't giving what they actually need.
Yeah.
And those who are working the
details, do offer on store is high sodium. So I have hypertension now. I never had high blood pressure before. So I have all kinds of medical issues, and I'm convinced that it was from my incarceration.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
And lastly, what are the benefits to the community in ending such an oppressive and profit-driven system?
People, there's all kinds of things that could be done to that would help the community if things were if a different model was created.
So if they said, we're gonna we got the law change that says Georgia is no longer going to practice slavery or involuntary servitude. Incarcerated people will not be working and forced to work, particularly without pay, and a livable wage pay. That is what being paid on the outside. So if they were to actually remove the state constitution, edit it to remove that out, how would that actually benefit society? Because right now they're saying, prison slave labor benefits the society.
Right.
But how would it benefit it more by ending this practice?
They would have more jobs available for their community. There would be if you took away what the I hate this word, but what the inmates do inside of facilities, that would open up so many doors for so many community members who are without jobs. Because it takes an army of people to run a prison.
It does. And it takes away the jobs that incarcerated people are doing on the outside. That is very key. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because when people don't understand, people say, I support incarcerated people's labor. But what they're not understanding is that contributes to unemployment on the outside.
Right.
That
you're taking from your own pocket. Yeah.
Okay.
Ultimately, yeah.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time. Those are all the questions I got. I appreciate you taking the time to interview with me. And we're hoping that in the next maybe 3 to 4 weeks, we're going to have all this finally edited. But when we get it, the goal is to have a commercial. Can you see me still or hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, I don't know what happened to the screen, but something went black.
I can see and hear you.
But once we get that done, I'll make sure I send you a link out and everything.
All right. Sounds
good.
Well,
thank you so much. You'll probably have to end because my screen went completely black. But thank you so
okay, much. I got you. All right. Well, you have a wonderful day and
you
keep
too.
in touch.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. What happened to the screen? I hope it recorded it.